Welcome to Movies Plane. Today I'm going to show you a supernatural thriller film titled Death Note. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. In a high school in Seattle, Washington, we meet Light Turner, who happens to be charging other students for doing their homework. All of a sudden the weather changes, and a strong breeze blows over the entire courtyard. At this moment a mysterious, worn-out, leather-bound notebook literally falls out of the sky. Light is the only one that sees the book. He picks it up and turns it over, revealing its title, The Death Note. Immediately, it begins to rain, and everyone scatters and rushes to shelter. While running towards the school entrance, Light witnesses the high school bully, Kenny Doyle, attacking another student. Light tries to stand up to Kenny by antagonizing him, but that ends badly for Light. After being found by one of his teachers, he ends up in the principal's office. He finds out he is in trouble, because the teacher that found him also discovered all of the homework he had been selling to the other students. He ends up in detention, and the teacher monitoring him heads out for a moment, leaving him alone in the classroom. He decides to take a look through the Death Note and reads the first pair of rules stated in the book. Rule 1 states that the person whose name is written in the book shall die, and the second rule states that the person writing the name should also know the face of their victim. Light is then interrupted by a sudden power outage, and then spooked by the shattering of glass behind him. He goes to check it out and encounters an 8 feet tall, freakish, demonic-looking creature. Everything in the room is then violently tossed around by some supernatural force that also shuts the door, trapping Light inside. He takes cover under the teacher's desk before it is pulled away from him. He encounters the demon again, but this time it speaks to him in a coarse, deep, menacing voice. It tells him to look out of the window, where he sees Kenny bullying another student. It encourages him to help her by writing down Kenny's name in the book. Then it persuades him to write down a cause of death, and Light decides to write decapitation. He then witnesses a buildup of minor events that cause a chain reaction leading to Kenny's gruesome end. He is horrified by what he saw, and the fact that this is even possible. The demon then disappears. That evening, Light is having dinner with his dad, Police Detective James Turner. They talk about Kenny's death and Light's detention, and then the conversation leads to an argument. Light is angry at his dad for letting his mom's killer get away with her murder after running her over and paying his way out of facing justice for his crime. He goes up to his room, where he meets the demon once again. This time it tells him its name, Ryuk, and that it is a death god. Ryuk explains to Light that, with the note, he can also influence his victims, meaning he can control or compel them to do something against their will before they die, but only for 2 days. Light then writes down the name of his mother's killer, Anthony Scommel, and Anthony dies shortly after at a restaurant. In the school gym, Light meets Mia Sutton, a girl he has a crush on, and decides to tell her about the Death Note. He tries to introduce her to Ryuk, but learns that only the keeper of the note can see or hear him. So, to convince her of its power, he goes onto a local live crime website and finds a hostage situation being broadcast. He kills the criminal, James Brody, right after compelling him to perform a military salute, and shows Mia what he wrote right before Brody died. She is now convinced of the note's power. They both decide that they will use the Death Note for good by ridding the world of evil and corrupted dictators, criminals, and so on. They use the name Kira, which is Japanese for killer, to represent their killings and also to throw off any investigative authorities from searching and tracing them in Seattle. Kira begins to grow rapidly in numbers of supporters and even worshippers over the span of their killings. One mysterious genius detective, who goes only by L and always covers his face in public, catches on to them. He deduces that Kira must be a police officer, or someone with access to the police database in Seattle. While researching the origin of Kira activity, he had discovered that before Kira's initial attacks there was the case involving James Brody. Although he had acted strange, Brody had no history of mental health problems or alcohol and drugs in his system. The live crime footage was also broadcast only in Seattle. L lists Light as a suspect since he also has access to the police database, as his dad is a police detective. L enlists the help of James and a team of FBI agents to find Kira. L theorizes that Kira can only kill his victims if he knows their names and what they look like. So, to test this theory, he addresses Kira over television broadcast, antagonizing and threatening Kira to kill him. Later that evening, Light tries to get some information about L from his dad, but finds out that L is just as much a mystery to him as everyone else. The only thing he learns from him is the name of L's right-hand man, Watari. The FBI agents assigned to the Kira task force then kill themselves the next day. This is the first incident of Kira killing innocent people or attacking the authorities, but Light is not responsible for their deaths and he blames Ryuk. He confronts Ryuk and threatens to write his name in the note if he does it again, but Ryuk warns him that others have tried to write his name before and only got as far as 2 letters. Light's dad, now furious at Kira for killing the FBI agents, addresses Kira on live television and threatens Kira to kill him too. After nothing happens to James, L is convinced without a doubt that Light is Kira. L confronts Light at a cafe and tells him that he knows that he is Kira and he will soon prove it. He also reveals his face to Light during their heated conversation. Light rushes home and decides to compel Watari, L's right-hand man, to give him all of the information he has about L's identity for the next 2 days. After he learns L's real name, he intends to burn the page with Watari's name, saving him from death according to the rules of the note. But only one name can be removed. Watari calls Light and tells him that he doesn't know L's real name as his identity is classified information, but he does know where to find the records that contain it, in a secret abandoned facility in Montague, New York. Watari makes his way there. L discovers Watari has left, and since it is uncharacteristic of him to do so, he believes that Light is behind his sudden disappearance. Now enraged, he comes to Light's home with a warrant and the police forced to search for anything that may incriminate Light, but they find nothing. The next day, Light finds out from Mia that she took the note and left before the police could find it. That night, the homecoming dance is taking place. Light and Mia attend. L figures out that Light must have controlled Watari to find his identity records, so he contacts the New York field office in an attempt to stop Watari. A security team is dispatched to find and stop him at any means. Light slips away from the homecoming dance by fooling the FBI agents who are monitoring him. He retrieves the note and contacts Watari, who is now very close to finding out L's real name. He attempts to find the page with Watari's name so that he can burn it, but realizes that Mia had ripped out the page. Watari then finds L's identity records, but just as he is about to tell Light L's real name, he is killed by the security team. Light returns to the dance and confronts Mia. She tells him the truth, that she not only took the page but she also killed the FBI agents by stealing another page from the note and slipping it into her calculus book before writing down their names on it. She reveals that she has also written Light's name in the note, and if he doesn't pass it over to her as its new keeper, he will die at midnight. If he does, she will burn his page and save him. They agree to meet at the Ferris wheel. After finding out that Watari has been killed, L loses his mind and goes on a manhunt after Light. At the school, Light takes a moment to write down some names of local registered offenders, but it isn't clear what for. He then tries to escape L, who eventually catches up to him in an alley. A civilian unintentionally interrupts them. L tells the man that Light is Kira, but he is a Kira supporter, so he helps Light to escape by knocking out L. Light meets Mia at the Ferris wheel. When they get on it, he tries to convince her not to take the note and to run away with him instead, but she takes it anyway. She realizes that he wrote her name inside before he left the school. The Ferris wheel then mysteriously collapses, and we see that Ryuk is actually the force behind this. Light and Mia then fall off along with the death note. She strikes the shoreline and dies instantly while Light lands in the water along with the death note. L then arrives and witnesses the page with Light's name float into a bonfire and be destroyed. An unknown old man retrieves and takes the note away. Light has now been in a coma for 2 days, and 4 new Kira killings have taken place during this time. Because of this, the police rule out Light as a suspect, but L still believes that Light is somehow responsible. L is forced off the case due to misconduct and recklessness. He boards a flight heading back to Japan. The old man then brings the death note back to Light at the hospital. L then remembers that in the alley, Light had mentioned something about a calculus book, and since Mia was the only one of the pair that studied calculus, he decides to abandon his flight and break into her home in search of the book. Light's dad comes to see him and tells him that he figured out that Light really is Kira. He found the article about Anthony Scommel in Light's room and realized that James Brody wasn't Kira's first victim, it was him. Light then reveals to his dad how he survived. In the note, he had written Mia's name, but that she would only die if she accepted the note, which is why he tried to convince her otherwise. Her cause of death would be falling off the Ferris wheel after it collapses. She would also try to grab the note, but instead only managed to grab the page with his name, ripping it out before it is ultimately consumed by fire. We find out that when Light was writing down names of random offenders back in school, it was all part of his plan. He had controlled one of them, a doctor named Norman Ludlum, to be present at the pier to save his life, put him in a coma, and take him to the hospital after the fall before finally killing himself. Another offender, Aaron Peltz, would also be present at the pier to retrieve the note and continue Kira's killings for the next 2 days before returning the note to Light and killing himself thereafter. This is how Light managed to survive, get rid of his toxic girlfriend, and remove himself from the suspect list. Genius. At Mia's house, Elle finds the calculus book, and inside is the page with the names of the FBI agents. He sees that the cause of their deaths is also written down, and from this Elle deduces how the note works, and he is about to write down a name, supposedly Light's name. The movie ends with Ryuk menacingly telling Light that humans are so interesting. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this.